Ronnie Kray was out of control. He was prepared to maim or murder people for the slightest misdemeanour. After a dispute at a nightclub involving a friend of the Krays and a burglar named Lenny Hamilton, Ronnie ordered Hamilton to attend a meeting.
So I go up there, get a cab, black cab, and go up there. They show me in the kitchen, and Ronnie was standing with his back to the, I didn't know, but it was a gas stove. He sat me down in the chair. He said, all right, Len? I said, yeah. He said, all right, you can go. I thought,
he said, all right, what?
He said, all right, you can go now. I thought, well, what you got me up here for? I'm thinking. Then he told two fellas to get hold of me, and they got hold of me, like, and that's when I see the pokers on the gas. Well, they were, know what you sharpen knives on? Cold steels, that's what you had on the gas.
And were you standing up or sitting there?
Pardon?
Were you standing up?
I was standing, they was holding me.
Right.
You know? So, as he's come towards me, I thought he's trying to fire me. What for? Anyway, I had black curly hair then. He started burning my hair off of me. You know, fucking man's crazy, like, you know. And then he put the pokers across. He was going to burn my eyes out. And as he's coming towards me, someone shouted out, no, Ron, not that. And he just stopped. As he walked away too, I said, you can go now.
When bank robber Albert Donoghue heard what had happened to his friend Lenny Hamilton, he said he would shoot whoever was responsible. Unaware, of course, that man was Ronnie Kray.
Somebody's come to me. I was in the Black Swan in Bow, and they said, the firm's looking for you. I said, oh, well, where are they? So it's in a little pub down Off Balance Road. So I went round there, and I leaned on the bar, and I noticed everybody moving away from me, so I thought, oh, there's some shit going on here. And the next thing, bang, I got one in the leg. Reggie's crept up behind me and gone wallop.
After the shooting, Donoghue went to meet the Krays to settle their differences, and shortly afterwards he was invited to join their firm.
I was invited to go around the house one day, and I went down there, and they're all sitting, the twins and Charlie sitting there. And then Charlie stood up and he said, welcome to the firm, like some fucking board meeting. And he said, we want you on our firm to earn money with us. Forget all them bank robberies and shit like that. So,
that's true what he's saying.
And then they put me on a succession of doors in different clubs. And so you become a face. They use you because you're a face. They know that people will respect when you're on the door. They go, oops, don't start fucking about in here. It's the firm, it belongs to the firm. A regular thing was Reggie and Ronnie would have a bet between themselves. I bet you a tenner, I get more money today than you.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ronnie would take Scotch Ian and Reggie would take me, and off we'd go and visit different people and just demand dough off them. And whoever got the most nicked a tenner. A tenner wasn't worth two bob in them days.
The Krays employed their terrifying reputation to extort money. One tactic was to send someone to trash a premises before offering their victim protection for a fee the following day.
They would send in a troublemaker first, someone like Teddy Smith, who was easily 2 light hours and he was drunk as a skunk. And then he'd smash the place up. Then the next day, the briefcase man went in and said, I can put a stop to all this shit for you. You just give us a penny a week and we forget about it.
Well, if you didn't fear him, you either was very brave or stupid, or you were telling lies.
Physical harm.
You were telling lies if you said you never feared them.
Why?
Because they were really frightening if you really knew them when they threatened you.
In 1966, the notorious axeman Frank Mitchell escaped from Dartmoor prison, and the Krays agreed to put him up in a small flat in the East End. However, it was a decision they would quickly regret, as Mitchell turned psychotically violent, threatening to take hostages and kill people. The twins called Freddie Foreman to try and sort out the mess.
So they had minders looking after him day and night, and they was all terrified and shit scared of him. And they was complaining all the time. And so they got me over, asked me to come over, and I went to see Reggie and Charlie, and they said, "Can you get us out of trouble here and help us?" And they had rings under their eyes, and he threatened to go round and take their mother hostage, and he knew what to blame and he would take 6 coppers with him. If it was the police turned up, he would shoot his way out. Now they're really worried now. So now they've got to get some help from somewhere, and they come to me again. So I'll go over and see him, and so I made arrangements to pick him up and take him out of the country, take him away down the country.
One of the Kray firm, Albert Donoghue, was there that night and escorted Frank Mitchell to a waiting van.
Jerry Callahan was on Foreman's firm. He opened the back doors. I got in, and they sent me up the front of the van. There was a small partition between the back of the van and the cab. So I sat down, and then Gerard Callahan had shut the back doors, and he walked around and got in the passenger seat and slammed the passenger door. I didn't know till later. When he slammed that passenger door, that was the signal that everything's all right. That is when the guns opened up. They was pumping shots into him, and he was groaning. He wasn't dead. They didn't kill him. And then Gerard said, "Go on, Fred, give him another one, I'm empty." So Foreman put his muzzle under his ear and gone badang. That was it. He flopped over then. He was dead, obviously. I worked it out, as to say, revolver at maximum 6 shots, automatic, anything up to 30. And then bang, 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 bang. Just pumping shots into him. So God knows how many shots it took to kill him.
Foreman was also implicated in the murder of a small-time crook, Jack the Hat McVitie. Reggie Kray, who was by now mimicking his twin brother's psychotic madness, decided to kill McVitie after a trivial dispute about money. And how did they kill Jack?
Well, they lured him to a party, and the Lambriano brothers took him to this party, and when they got him down there, and there was they just fucking challenged him and finished up stabbing him to death. Reggie stabbed him to death. Ronnie was holding him, and this guy, Ronnie Hart, their cousin, was involved in it all, stabbing him and holding him, and it was a really messy job, what they did of him anyway. It took a long time to kill him, apparently. It was a bad scene.
His body's never been found either, has it?
No. Well, they took him across and dumped him right on my fucking doorstep, round the corner from my pub, and left him there in the back of a car, covered up in a bed, in a fucking candlewick bedspread on the back seat of the car. I mean, what a thing to do, I mean, and there was right outside a church where there'd been a wedding take place, After that incident, there was no reporting there, no, everyone was missing. He was missing, Jack was missing, Mitchell was missing, and Marks was missing. So it was, they was all pointing the finger at me all the time, and of course there was, you can imagine what was going on at Scotland Yard and places like that, what they was all thinking. So, but you know, they got a lot of things wrong. It wasn't right what they were singing anyway. We won't go into that.
The reason so few people were ever found is that the Krays had a Polish bodyman who used to dispose of their mutilated victims.
He used to break lorries up, smelt Ellie, and he had a big aluminium smelt.
Like a furnace.
Yeah. And what he used to do, he used to have an old chest freezer. He used to put them in there.
Freeze them up.
Then they cut them up
No
and
blood.
put them in the smelt.
No blood once
And if
they're
there's any
frozen.
bones left, we used to crush them all up and then go and throw them in the river. And that's how we disposed of the body.
Only a small number of Freddie Foreman's closest confidants know what really happened to the bodies of Marks, Mitchell and McVitie. Even the Krays were not privy to such sensitive information. Despite the no body, no murder assumption that the police had worked under, they arrested the Kray brothers and their associates on the 8th of May 1968. Several gang members gave evidence against the twins after they were told they would have to take the blame for the murders. Ron and Reggie Kray were eventually sentenced to life imprisonment with a recommendation that they serve at least 30 years. Charlie Kray and Freddie Foreman were both in prison for 10 years for being accessories in Jack McVitie's murder.
You know why I went on the Kray case? Ronnie Kray burnt me in 1963. This is 1968. What? You don't grass, right? But I was in prison and they got a letter smuggled into me. I think it's from one of the bent screws. If we had been talking to the old Bill, we're going to shoot your 2 kids and your wife.
Anyway, I went on a solicitor's visit. Now it's me and the 3 Krays sitting there. And this bent brief Manny Freddie. All of a sudden Freddie says, I'll go and get another chair. Again, I didn't think at the time. We went and got a chair. We brought it back. There's nowhere to put it because we were all sitting down anyway.
Yeah.
You know? What, didn't need another chair. And that's when Ronnie said, he's got an idea. He said, we're going to get Ronnie out to stand up for McVitie. We're going to get Scotch Jack to stand up for Cornell. We want you to stand up for Mitchell. I said, no, I'm not doing that. Poor way he fucking looked at me. He wouldn't have needed it at all. I would have dropped dead on the spot the way he looked at me. He thought, what he thought was that we were still frightened of him, you know. We were still frightened of the Krays, but it was me, Ronnie Hart and Jack Dixon, Scotch Jack. We weren't frightened of him. So that was when my mother came to visit me with my youngest son, who was a baby at the time. And I slipped in his little note. Get to Nipperee from Bow Street, tell him if he wants the business, come and see me. And he came in. He said, why are you doing this? I said, because I'm sick of all this shit and the nonsense. I said, I just want to get rid of it all. And there was no deal, Dad, no deal. People said, you don't deal. No deal. When we went in the court was buzzing, and my brief said to me, I said, what's happening? He said, don't know, nothing's happened yet. He said, do you want to retract anything you said? I said, no, just go, get on with it. So we went in, and good old judge, and he says, my barrister came in late, and then he started going on, you know, they go on these barristers. But the judge said to him, Mr. Edwards, he said, you're leaning rather heavily on an open door. He said, the judge's way of saying, shut up, you know, it's all been done. So he sat down, and then he said, right, take them down. It was all in this specially built dock. And the screws took them down. And then, we all went in ourselves. Then the next thing, the doors opened, and the screw and the two coppers off the swing, he said, come on. We went and stood at the bottom of the stairs, and the judge was peeling up the sentences. Ronald Kray Society has earned the right to arrest from your activity. You'll go to prison for a minimum of 30 years. Reginald Kray saying, Albert Donoghue, 2 years. I was shocked myself. The screws and the coppers was arguing about how much I had left to do, because I'd been on remand for 9 months.
Yeah.
Anyway, it worked out I had about 6 months left to do. But then, Callahan was sick at the time, and for some reason, Nipperee come to see me at Maidstone. Nick, he says, we've got a result for you. He said, you've got another 3 months knocked off the end of your sentence. I didn't hardly do that. I'd done about 6 months time in the zoo, you know. I was well pleased.
I'm glad they're 6 foot under the best place they can be.
Yeah.
They were 2 horrible bastards. You don't hurt your own, but they hurt anybody then. People feared the Krays. And do you know why they only talked to them when they see them in the market? Because they were terrified of them.
People who say the lovely boys didn't know them.
They were bloody animals.
Well, if you didn't fear him, you either was very brave or stupid, or you were telling lies.
Physical harm.
You were telling lies if you said you never feared them.
Why?
Because they were really frightening if you really knew them.
I thought they should be ironed out, to be honest.
You thought the Krays should
Yeah,
have been shot?
the 2 of them. Yeah.
Why did you think?
Because they was dangerous to everybody, and if they hadn't been arrested when they were, that's what would have happened.
Was that?
Yeah.
That had been.
That was on the cards. Yeah.